And welcome to the Clouse Q Show here on ONTV as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network. Along with Quadell Edwards, I am Jason Clouse. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your Friday night, out of your weekend to join us here tonight. Now, full disclosure, we're hoping that there's a dump button. We're hoping that there is that 5-second delay because I feel like, for a number of reasons, this show is going to be extraordinary in terms of our content here tonight because we are in the month of October, and in the month of October, generally, aside with a number of different things going on, Halloween is very much the backdrop of the month for a lot of us. Now, also, just as important, even more so important, I guess I should say, as my esteemed partner here is representing with great class, it is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But we're going to focus here tonight, Q, on something that I feel like a lot of us, most of us, have some degree of experience in. And it's something that kind of fits the tone for the whole Halloween thing, the whole Halloween theme. Because with Halloween, we sit there and we put a lot of time and effort into what costumes we're going to wear. Who are we going out as this particular year? You know, this has always been a big deal with kids, obviously. But, you know, you look at the numbers and adults are just as invested in this thing. For many of you, Halloween has eclipsed like Christmas and Thanksgiving and every other major holiday as this is what they gear their whole year around. And I get it. It's fun. You get to explore your creativity. You get to wear masks. You get to turn into a separate character. You get to dive into a different gimmick. But here tonight, we're going to talk about when that goes beyond Halloween and how people, conduct themselves in real life with the proverbial masks that we wear. I touched on this several months ago over on the Clouse to the Heart podcast, which you can find on the PFC Entertainment Network. And I thought, with the overall theme of Halloween this year and looking at something that I know Q would have a particular, an interest in, or you have some experience in, because make no mistake about it, man, like you and I we've been around the block, as it were. I mean, it may have been, not the same blocks, but you and I have a lot of experience with this. The other part of this is we have no notes. Yeah, I do not have a notebook here. Everything you hear tonight is extremely raw, real, off the cuff, without filters. Well, that's why I made the comment earlier about the dump button. I will keep it within PG-14 mode, I promise. Q, before we dive into this thing, man, how's things with you? I know you're still recovering with the hand injury and things of this nature. It's always a pleasure. You are the highlight of this day for me. I just want you to know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm doing pretty good. If you can see, my hand is wearing a mask, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just enjoying life as it is. We all got challenges. I got challenges. I mean, today was a challenge for me, and I know today was a challenge for you as well. We know out there, people that are watching, challenges, man. We all go through things, but you know what? I can't complain. I'm here. I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy I'm sitting here with my buddy. This guy is awesome. This show is awesome.
It depends on who you ask.
I hope you leave a comment, because we are fired up and we're excited today. Leave a comment if you are watching live. I'm telling you, we're going to have a good time today.
For the first time here tonight, and as part of our show, we are inviting you to join the conversation. No, we do not have notebooks out, but we both have our phones out and we have the live stream happening. If you have a comment, you have a question, anything that you want to bring to the conversation, drop us a comment on the ONTV feed for this very show. We will read it on the air, assuming it's appropriate.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the masks that we wear and why this is a thing. Why do people wear masks? Very simple. I can bottom line it as this. Because there is something in their everyday, something in their real life that is not firing on all cylinders. There is something in their life, there is something happening with their self-esteem that they're not good with themselves. So what do we do when we need to change something, when we feel like we're vulnerable? We will protect ourselves in any way, shape, or form. Now, for a lot of us, it is we put on these, for the lack of a better term, the proverbial mask. The mask allows us to become a different persona. It allows us to tap into a different part of our psyches, something that does exude confidence. I know this because I did this. So this particular topic is something that I can bring a certain degree of experience to because I have done this very thing. Anybody who knows my story knows that for a good chunk of my life, I was involved in professional wrestling on the independent level, both as a performer and as a promoter. Now, when you talk about masks, you talk about characters, you talk about gimmicks, obviously, Q, the correlation to professional wrestling is there, but in the reality, in the grand scheme of things, it goes far beyond that.
Oh, absolutely. We're in a society where we got reality, and then we got virtual reality. We got that made up world on this side, and we want to be over here because we're not really happy with the reality of life. You see it all over social media.
Yeah.
You see it all over the place. And I believe that's why superheroes are so big, because they can be two people. You got the Clark Kent, but guess what? You also got the Superman. And people, there's so many people who can identify with that because they don't like their Clark Kent side of their lives, so they portray Superman. You see that all over social media. You see people living their best life on social media, but behind that mask, there's a lot of issues that are not being dealt with because we want to just shove it under the carpet. We just want to, hide it and just say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to be what I'm really not.
You make an excellent point here, and this is a big part of this problem because it does become a problem. It becomes a problem because it starts to manipulate who and what you truly are.
Yep.
And I blame social media for a lot of this. I have a very love-hate relationship with all things that are social media. While it does provide some good, it does provide that much more bad if we allow it. And what it comes down to is acceptance. What it comes down to is getting those likes, those shares.
Yep.
Now, you are correlating that with acceptance. And when you say something, you post something, especially in this day and age, and this is where it kind of splinters, is controversy creates clicks. Controversy creates cash because nobody gives a crap about the good that's going on in the world for whatever reason. They're more interested in where the controversy is because that becomes water cooler talk. Oh my God, did you see this? Oh my God, did you hear that? Okay, great, but what's that doing in the grand scheme of things? More often than not, it's at somebody else's expense.
Yep.
Okay? Now, when you put a hot take on social media, you're doing that because you are not getting some sort of response, reaction. You are not feeling like you are involved. My question is, if you're not feeling like you are involved or you are invested in or anything like that based on the people that you hang out with or you correspond with, maybe the problem is you're hanging around the wrong damn people. Maybe the problem is you are putting so much stock into something that's manufactured versus something that is real. You said Superman. Superman is a great example. Never mind the fact that I'm a fan of the character as a whole, but make no mistake about it, I'm not a comic book guy. You know, I don't buy every origin issue and things of this nature. I react to what's presented to me generally on the screen. So, but you know, Superman is one of those iconic examples of so many things that can be correlated to real life.
Yep.
The whole Clark Kent / Superman dual thing is very much a real life issue for a lot of people. Because on the surface, Clark Kent is the all-American babyface.
Yeah.
He is the guy that you want to rally around because he is a good person with a genuine good heart, but he's the one that gets crapped on more often than not.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the world is all wrapped up in the hysteria of the alter ego that is the Superman because of the extraordinary things that he can do. But that begs the question, and this is where the example does get a little bit askewed. What is truly at the core of that human? Is he Superman dressed up as Clark Kent, or is he really Clark Kent with Superman in his internal makeup? What's the answer here?
I got the perfect answer for this. Superman, Clark Kent, it's made up. It's not real. So that's where we're following this fantasy world of being Superman when all of this stuff is made up. You are who you are. Stop putting on masks and trying to be somebody else. It comes straight up. I can't be more straight than that.
Right.
We are living a fantasy lifestyle, and you know I'm a transparent person. Just like you said at the beginning of the program, I have also dealt with wearing masks in life because I wanted to be greater than I was perceived. You know, the people seen me in a certain light that might not have been that good. Now, I wanted to be better than that, so instead of fixing what I needed to fix and actually dealing with the problem, I wanted to put on a mask. And that's how we hide things. We start to not deal with the problems that we have in life, and that problem begins to grow because it's just sitting there and it's just taking root into our lives, and all we do is cover it up. And that's the problem with society and so many things that we are dealing with. We're not dealing with ourselves. We always hear that saying, you can't change the world if you can't change yourself first. Why change the world if you're not willing to change? And that's what it comes down to, change. Don't be afraid of change. You don't have to hide what you are or who you are. Change and become better, and you can be that superhero. Now I made it to the point in my life where my kids see me as a superhero.
Yes.
My kids see me as a superhero. So this is where you can really take that fantasy of lifestyle, and instead of just putting on a mask, try to become that. Try to become that better version, that best version of you, because that's the real superhero. You being a better person and being that example to people who eventually will be looking up to you. That's what you really need to focus on. And I feel like at this time of my life, that's all I can do is just to be an example. And now that I'm running my own company and everything, and people are starting to like really look up to me, that's what I have to be. I'm not portraying a superhero. I'm being that hero that they need.
I love the fact that you are aware of that. I love the fact that even though you are aware of that, you don't let it manipulate how you interact with people. You don't let it go to your head, so to speak. You're able to stay humble. You're able to, yes, you know your self-worth. And that is one of the most crucial things. I have talked about this ad nauseum. You have to understand. You have to get a grip. You have to come to terms with your self-importance, because you are just as important as anybody else that you correspond with that has presented themselves on a higher pecking order than you are. I've got news for you, Jack. There is nobody above anybody else, because at the end of the day, when our time comes and we are either called up or we fade to black, whatever you believe in, it makes no difference how much money you make, what your social status is. None of that garbage matters, because that's not what people are going to remember. They're going to remember you for who and what you truly are or were.
Yep.
So what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to leave a legacy that is marred in controversy? And not only that, you're marred in this aura of mystery because you lived your entire life with the proverbial mask on. People do that because, and we'll circle back to this, because this is where I feel like the foundation of this is, there's something that we're not happy with ourselves. And because we can adopt a different persona, then all of a sudden we're more popular or we're deemed more valuable. Well, based on what? That's my biggest issue. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing and you're only doing what you're doing for the adulation or the acceptance of some social standing, this was going to be a little bit tougher, I felt like. Look, I'm fired up.
I felt it.
You did. I felt you tighten up a little bit. I can only imagine what a director was thinking at the same time. But make absolute no mistake about it. There's just so much that we can do with our personal choices and how we conduct our day-to-day that is ultimately going to better your self-esteem, and you're more dialed into who and what you are and what you do bring to the table. Yep. You've heard me say 1,000 times, there is no other individual that brings to the table what you do. Nobody. I don't care if you're a twin. I don't care if you're a triplet. It doesn't matter. Every single individual is unique in their own and special ways. Yep. Why are we not embracing that? Why? Because it doesn't fit the standard of somebody else's BS standards. They have put in place their own pecking order based on wherever they are in life. You see this a lot with those who were born with the proverbial silver spoons that haven't had to work for anything in their lives. Everything has just magically happened to them. That's not reality. You are in a very, very exclusive and, dare I say, fake world. Because, again, all the money in the world could be gone just like that.
Real quick.
And all you are left with is who and what you are. Sean Grugel and I were talking a couple of weeks ago over on Power Tripping Through the 80s, which you can find every Wednesday on the PFC Entertainment Network. I'm going to get every plug in I can.
Nice.
That's what I do. But we were having a conversation, and we went off into a sidebar. Shocker, I know. But during the course of that conversation, we were talking about our society and the deterioration of it, where does it stem from? Like, this is a constant conversation I have with a lot of people. But during the course of that conversation, and he said something, and it triggered something in my head, and it's kind of like become my mantra now, Q, and I posted it on my personal Facebook page last night. In order to heal the world, it has to include all mankind, not just one kind of man. And when I said that initially to Sean, like, I seen and I felt like something in him had clicked, and that's when I knew I was onto something. Because that's it. In order for us to have the society that we strive for, the first thing we got to do is take off all the masks, strip all the gimmicks, strip all of that crap off, and just present yourself as you. And the bottom line is this. If you, to your core, is not good enough for somebody else, the question is not what can you do to improve to be on their level. The question is what can they do to erase that manufactured BS and get on the same level that you are. Because at the end of the day, those who are more in tune with who and what they are will flourish further than anybody else whose identity or their very point of view is based on something fake and manufactured.
Yep. All right, good night, folks. No, but you said a lot there.
I know, I'm sorry.
But it's all about authenticity. It's all about authenticity. I mean, we all want to, you got so many people that just kind of rely on being that controversial person that's not really them. Like I guarantee you, if I put on a mask right now during the show, take my buddy Jason Clouse and suplex him through this table, I guarantee you some of those controversial watchers or seekers are gonna click onto this video and say, what's Q doing?
He's turned heel.
Oh, he's turned heel. But that's the society we living in. We got so many people who want to see other people be other people. This is what I call an identity crisis. We are living in a identity crisis type of world. Right now, so many people are trying to be other people. And I always tell people, be authentic and be yourself and stay in your lane. It's less traffic. It's less traffic when you stay in your lane. I'm telling you, don't be swerving. You don't have to go over there to the left and be that person because you're not going to be good at it. You might be able to hold it up for a little while, but I can't be Jason Clouse because we already have one. He cannot be me because I'm already here. We don't need a duplicate.
Listen, the world can't handle more than one of each of us.
I agree.
That's what it comes down to.
I agree.
You know, something that I was just thinking about while you were saying that, I feel like a lot of this, you know me, man, I try to get to the bottom of things. I try to think about where do things start from, and I kind of feel like it does start fundamentally when we are younger, when we are kids.
Yeah.
We see these different larger-than-life characters on TV,
Yep.
cartoons, movies, TV shows, things of this nature, and we gravitate to those characters. But the people who are portraying those characters, a lot of times, more often than not, are a far cry from what they are presenting themselves on TV.
Right.
I think maybe that's why pro wrestling registered with guys and girls, for that matter, fans, like Q, like me, like for millions of people around the world, because we're seeing real life superheroes.
Yep.
Because you take a guy like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is not his real name.
No.
What you see in the ring, what you see on SmackDown is not going to be the same thing that you see sit with him at a family picnic, although that's
Right.
a pretty damn big family picnic.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is an easy example for us because,
real good
because
example. Yeah.
there are literal people that wear masks, i.e. Rey Mysterio, right?
Yep.
But you take a guy like that, Rey Mysterio I'm talking about, and yeah, he's all colorful, he's got his face covered, but every interview that I have seen is the exact same guy that you see in the ring, like shoot interviews, real life, and
Well,
you know it's him, just what the volume turned up a little bit. That's what got Steve Austin so popular back in the Attitude Era. It was Steve Williams, his real name, just with the voltage cranked up. Now, you translate that to these actors, that are portraying these iconic characters in your favorite movies, your favorite TV shows. Musicians is another one.
Oh,
Musicians is on another level because they are, if they're legit and they're writing their own music, they are they are giving you a very, very personal piece of their core in song form, in music form, right? But it's kind of a dual-edged sword because they have to present themselves on stage as over the top. Yep. Because anything that's deemed low-key or authentic gets overshadowed.
Yeah.
This is my fascination with the Dave Matthews Band. And there's a lot of other bands that are like this, but this is my example. Because the Dave Matthews that you see on stage is the same Dave Matthews that you hear in, like on the Howard Stern show or during any kind of interview he's doing with some website, newspaper, whatever. Now, do I have access to his home life? Absolutely not. But you have a pretty good idea as to this is who this guy is. Yeah. And as much crap as I've talked about Taylor Swift, and I have.
She's everywhere.
She is everywhere. The girl is on fire. It was actually, and I had a preconceived notion, and I make no mistake about it. I just, okay, she's a teeny bopper. She's, she is the new fad or whatever.
Right.
It was my wife that actually made me sit down, or, she sat down with me and explained why she resonated with her. And I got it. And I did some research, Q. We have a lot of time at work where
yes,
we work, so I actually went in and listened to a few of her songs and actually dialed into the words. I now have a better understanding of what makes her so popular because it is her just with the volume turned up.
Yeah.
Is there another successful balance between somebody that is on a public forum but is as authentic as they possibly can be to their true selves?
Oh, man.
I know it's a hard question, right off the top of your head like that. But
I mean, you do see people balance it pretty well. I mean, you gave the example of Roman Reigns, and the first thing that came to my mind is he portrays a superhero in the ring, but at home, I believe, and I'm not in his home or anything, but I know he has 5 kids and a wife. But I believe to those kids, they see him as a superhero, not because he's in the ring, but because he's at home with his family. He's the dad of the. I guarantee you that he's going on trips. He's at the beach. You see photos of him at the beach with his kids, and he's having a good time with his kids. He is a superhero at home to his kids, but he's a superhero to his fans in the limited time he's in the ring.
Right.
So you kind of see the balance that some of these actors, wrestlers and superstars and all these different singers and songwriters, all these people have to portray. And you make a good point saying that they dial it up for the fans because, we like to have that image of them as superheroes. But at home, they are living a life where the people in that house can call them heroes just for providing.
For the right reasons.
Yep, for the right reason. I mean, everybody's not like that. I gave Roman Reigns as the example because that's the only one I'm going to give.
Right.
Who knows? He could be a terrible father, for all I know. But, I'm just giving that as an example because, there's so much stuff going on. He's playing a character. He's Roman to us. He's Joe. He's dad to his family.
Yeah.
So he has to balance that, and to me, as a fan, I love to see it. So, some of these actors and people that we watch on TV, I love to see the back lives. I like to see all the documentaries and everything, and seeing what they do in the time that they're not in front of a screen. And to me, it's awesome to see them balance that.
In this day and age where there's 24-hour access to anybody if you so choose.
Right,
there's, there's live streams. Our phones have cameras on them. We can broadcast anything to the entire world at a moment's notice.
Yep.
So you really get a better idea if the subject isn't paying attention, then you really see them in their true authentic self, and that's when you make a determination, is this really a good person to their core or not? When you see them in an environment where they don't know that they're being filmed, then you are starting to see what really truly is.
Yeah.
That's on a very public realm. That is a very public example, and not everybody lives their lives with the aspirations of being in the public eye like my friend and I do. Or that we put ourselves out there on a public forum, and hey, make no mistake about it. People tune in to what we do. They tune in to ONTV once a month when the Clouse Q Show is on. They will download episodes of the podcast on my podcast network because they are interested, they are entertained, they are engaged. Something that we are doing registers with them.
Yep.
And make no mistake about it. What you get, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I know you well enough to know where I'm not talking out of line here. What you see with us is what you get.
Yep.
Is the volume turned up a little bit? Yes, a little bit, because I usually don't talk this animated or this loud in my everyday because, well, my voice booms and it scares the crap out of people sometimes. I may be in the best mood and I'm all dialed in and jacked up about it, but people think I'm yelling at them because of how my voice comes out. But what you see here, the camaraderie that we have here in front of cameras, in front of you, would be the same camaraderie if Q was in my home and we were watching a pay-per-view or having a meal with our families or whatever the case may be. We just don't talk as loud. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My point here is, and we will wrap this segment up with this. You are good enough based on who and what you are. Assuming that you don't go through life with the sole purpose of trying to disrupt or hurt anybody else or anything else for that matter.
Right.
If you have integrity, if you have a pure heart, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what name is on your tags, on your clothes. I don't care about what kind of shoes you have. Doesn't matter to me what year your car is. None of that matters. What matters is how you present yourself. Mm-hmm. What matters is who you are. That's what I'm dialed into. And if I find out after the fact that who I thought you were truly is not the case, then my time with you is done. Not for any other reason that I have made a choice not to be around somebody who is fake, who is presenting me with an alternative identity or gimmick that is not who they are to their core. That's just my preference. I prefer to live my life a lot simpler than having to worry about trying to keep up with your gimmick when you're having a hard enough time trying to figure it out on your own. Mm-hmm. With that, we are going to run a quick timeout, and we are going to completely change gears for the second segment. We'll explain more here in a little bit. So stick around. More of the Clouse Q Show live on ONTV is right after this timeout.
9, 8.
Are you or someone you know having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance abuse crisis? 988 connects you to compassionate, confidential support for free.
988.
988 is the new 3-digit dialing code for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For years, the Lifeline, formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, has answered tens of millions of calls and helped people overcome mental health-related distress. 988 is the same trusted resource. When you call, text, or chat 988, you'll be quickly connected to trained crisis counselors who will listen to your concerns, provide support, and get you additional help if needed. There is hope. The Lifeline works. You are not alone in crisis. Just call, text, or chat 988.
988.
Knowing how to identify signs of crisis in others and help connect them to resources like the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is an important way to prevent suicide in Lake Orion. For information about free suicide prevention trainings offered in our community, please visit the North Oakland Community Coalition at noccmi.org.
988.
And welcome back to the Clouse Q Show live here on ONTV along with Quadell Edwards. I am Jason Clouse, and circling back real quick of that ad that we just saw for 988. What a tremendous program that is, because it lets people know if you are struggling with something. It is so important to realize you are not alone. There are people who will listen to you, that want to listen to you, that want to help you for the sole purpose of just helping you, for no other reason. So please, I would implore, if you are dealing with anything that is less than ideal, reach out to somebody. Sometimes it is better to talk to somebody that does not know you. They don't have a personal vested interest or an agenda one way or the other. They're there to truly help you. So check that out, 988. Very, very cool program. One of the reasons why this community is so top notch, it really has that community feel. You know, if one is down, the rest of the town comes around to rally around them, and I absolutely love that. More communities need to adopt that philosophy. Now, completely changing gears here. For those of you who pay attention to our social media accounts, you've watched the shows here for any length of time. We've talked about it here tonight. Professional wrestling is a big deal. And over the course of a couple of episodes this year particularly, we flipped the script a little bit and we did like either a preview show or a recap show of a big pay-per-view event from generally WWE. Well, you responded. You, the fans, you, the ones who tune in to watch our show, and that seemingly resonated. And we did one for WrestleMania, we did one for SummerSlam, because these are two of what we call the Big Four in terms of the bigger pay-per-view events from WWE. Listen, you spoke, we heard you. And starting next month, next month I shouldn't say that. Next month is going to be a little different because it is going to be all things about the Survivor Series. And it is one of the Big Four. It has been a huge event over the course of my life since 1987 when it made its premiere at the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio. I remember it like it was yesterday. That particular event it's one of those dates I circle every single year. It goes down November the 25th. Now, the cool part about that is Q and I are going to be back on the air on the 17th, a week and a day before the Survivor Series. So we are going to bring back the Stan Lee of our operation, Brian Balf, and my Power Tripper through the 80s co-host, Sean Grugel. And we are going to do the four-man preview panel of the Survivor Series the next time we're here on ONTV. Friday night, November the 17th, 6 p.m. Check your local listings. We say that to say, going forward, we are going to designate the second segment of every episode to a topic in professional wrestling, because we have heard you. You enjoy our banter. You enjoy our points of view in this world. I have a unique perspective about it. So does Q. Sometimes we will agree. Most oftentimes we may not, but that's okay. Because, we respect each other and we can have a healthy conversation. So with that, we talk about this here tonight. The world of professional wrestling is in a boom right now. WWE is obviously at the head of the table. AEW is right there at the number 2 slot. Now you're getting the bigger independent promotions that are jockeying for position number 3. Impact Wrestling and the NWA are the two that come to mind right now, especially with the NWA because they just signed a television deal with the CW. And Billy Corgan, who owns NWA, is really trying to reestablish the roots of the business and is really trying to reinvigorate the whole territory system slowly but surely. And I think it's a tremendous idea. But right now there's a lot of focus, especially coming into the studio here today, on Impact Wrestling because they have, as multiple internet sources have reported, Impact Wrestling has offered a contract to CM Punk. CM Punk is the lightning rod right now in the wrestling business. Recently, within a handful of weeks ago, was released from AEW, and upon his termination for cause, as it was laid out by AEW President Tony Khan, that's a whole nother. Was the disdain on full display? I'm sorry, I'm trying to be objective here. I really tried to. A lot of the rumor mill went ablaze that he was going back to WWE, to the point to where WWE put out a statement that said that it was not going to happen. Now, you don't know what to believe. You don't know what the dirt sheets are saying. You don't know who's feeding what crap what crap to the other websites and things of this nature. But CM Punk was thought to be the guy that was going to take AEW to that next level. And I got to be honest with you, his WWE run, like, I was a fan of it. Once he got the whole best in the world part of it, he got aligned with Paul Heyman. In the ring, he is one of the best to ever do it. You cannot take anything away from it. But Q, the thing about Punk is, no matter where he goes, and it took a minute to surface in AEW, but it eventually did, his demeanor behind the scenes has kind of made him one of the more polarizing, guys in the business. And two very significant and well-documented issues within AEW that led to suspensions and ultimately his termination from the company. And for a company that is really trying to find their identity in terms in the effort, they will sign these former WWE megastars. Punk was one. Adam Edge Copeland is the latest one. He just making the jump here, a couple of weeks ago. Does WWE really need CM Punk at this point? Because I feel like as they are continuing to rake in record profits and pay-per-view buys and things of this nature, it seems like they're running on all cylinders. As a promoter, I can understand the appeal to bring a CM Punk back, but much like they did in AEW, would he have the long-term effect that he had upon his initial return?
For one, WWE does not need CM Punk. CM Punk needs WWE.
Ooh, there it is.
More.
There it is.
Because, WWE is on fire now. You had the whole thing with the exodus of, the old guy. And you got Triple H running the creative. And things are on fire right now. There are record gates for live events. We're talking about record gates for the pay-per-views, the PLEs.
Yeah.
The shows are selling out. They're hitting record numbers. CM Punk, does he move the needle? Yes. I believe he moved the needle. AEW needs CM Punk more right now because their ratings dropped after CM Punk was fired. But CM Punk needs WWE, but I am under the impression that CM Punk needs to be finished. Not because he's bad in the ring or he's too old or anything, but all of the backstage issues, to me, that's one reason why WWE, I don't believe they'll bring him in, because you have to consult with some of your top guys. I mean, you got to go talk to Roman Reigns. You got to go talk to people like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens and some of those guys and see, are you guys willing to work with this guy if we bring him in? And I don't believe that all of those guys are big fans of CM Punk.
Look, Seth Rollins came out right
Right
out
off
of the
the bat.
gate and said, I will not work with this
Yeah,
guy. I
right
do
off the
not
bat.
like this guy. I do not respect him. And I understand that they had run-ins over the course
Yeah.
of their careers, and I get that. And Seth Rollins is one of WWE's biggest stars.
Yeah.
He is the current reigning World Heavyweight Champion for Monday Night Raw.
You got to keep him happy.
You have to, because if you bring one guy in and it creates a negative ripple effect through your locker room, the locker room will implode, much like, and I use this as an example the other day, much like what happened within WCW,
Yeah.
which led to the demise and the ultimate sale of that company for a fraction of its worth
Yeah.
a handful of years prior to that to Vince McMahon. CM Punk, yes, is a needle mover initially. But once he got going, the needle didn't move anymore. There was nothing he was doing more to enhance the overall product of a new promotion. And that's what they counted on.
Yeah.
I am not sitting here and dumping on CM Punk because he does have a place in the business. Do I think he needs to be done with in-ring competition? Not necessarily. I feel like if he's given the right circumstance, the dude could have another resurrection of his career and be at the top of the card.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could happen in WWE. However, he's got to, and this is the source of contention, I feel like he is so dialed into who he is, and I love that about him. That is truly one of his greatest attributes. He knows who he is.
Yeah.
He knows his self-worth, and he's not willing to compromise that. And I love that for him. But if he has aspirations of being a global entertainer on the level that he wants to be, he has to find that happy medium within WWE. His departure was one of the most unprofessional things that I had ever seen, and I'll put that right up there with Steve Austin taking his ball and going home in 2002, because that's essentially what he did. Because he didn't get a particular match on a particular spot at a particular show. Yes, it was the main event of WrestleMania. Yes, he was the WWE champion at the time. And I maintain that the WWE champion should close out each and every WrestleMania. That's my opinion. He should have had that opportunity, but that's not where they decided to put him in. He got pissed because he got put into a program with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. What are you upset about? What are you upset about? His arguments there is some degree of validity to it. But his behavior and the way he went about things is what overshadowed all of that. That's what happens in AEW. That's why he's no longer in AEW.
It's all about the response. I mean, things happen and you can express your grievances, but it's the way you respond. And the fact that they had that whole incident with the press conference, the scrum, the media scrum.
Man, yeah.
My God, I watched that thing as it unfolded, and there was two things that really stuck out to me. Not only was CM Punk just going off on people who is over him, but the fact that the guy that was really over him was sitting there allowing that to happen.
Right.
So it was a lot of issues with that entire thing, and I believe not only did he expose himself, he exposed AEW as the little kids that's playing second fiddle.
Right.
And these are things that he's not going to be able to get away with in WWE. I mean, and even if, and this is going to create another problem, I believe, even if he were to go back to WWE, he's not going to be a full-time guy. I don't think they're going to sign him for a full-time. He's going to be that part-time guy. And will Seth Rollins and some of these other guys, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, are these guys going to really accept the fact that CM Punk, who caused all this trouble in AEW, going to come into WWE, take a spot, and be part-time as well and get paid all this money?
It's a different WWE now than it was when he left the company. You know, they're now part of this merger with UFC, you know, this TKO Holdings under the Endeavor umbrella.
Yep.
You know, Vince McMahon is not calling the shots anymore.
No.
You know, Ari Emanuel is. And Vince, for all intents and purposes, like his name is on the paperwork, but
He's a figurehead.
he is.
Yep.
He doesn't really have a whole lot of say in anything in terms of, especially the creative process, and that was a big source of contention for Punk. Now, with Impact Wrestling, who is, you know, they have been around for a long time. You know, their roots go back to 2002 when Jeff Jarrett formed the company as TNA. Now, they are struggling to find their own identity, and, you know, they have tremendous talent. They have a tremendous opportunity. If they can get the right exposure on the right TV network, or they can expand their internet footprint, and you can bring somebody with the stature of a CM Punk onto their show, then boom, you have just scored the big one.
Yeah.
Because Impact Wrestling does need a CM Punk. Maybe not him personally, but somebody on that stature. Because say what you want about Phil Brooks, the guy has carved himself out a very respectable career in this business. Not just what he did on a national platform, a worldwide platform in World Wrestling Entertainment or All Elite Wrestling. You can go back and trace his roots to Ring of Honor, those series of matches that he had with Samoa Joe still stand out to this day. So if you can get a CM Punk under the umbrella of a company that is desperately trying to solidify their number 3 spot, then yeah, this is where CM Punk would be that huge fish in a relatively small pond that I kind of feel like his ego really wants him to be. He wants to be the face that runs the place, not to take anything from AJ Styles. But that's where he would fit.
Yeah.
On the global scale of WWE, I think there's a lot of things that Punk can do that he could, and even if you do book him as an attraction, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's
I think he does need that. Yeah.
That's what will move the needle. But even after his in-ring work is done, dude, he has proven he can be a damn good commentator. So why are we not incorporating him into the next Jerry Lawler or the next, dare I say, Bobby the Brain Heenan? Because he does have that mental capability.
And I guess really the ball falls in his court.
Yeah.
Is he willing to, accept that? For the whole TNA thing, I don't believe he's going to go to TNA only because TNA have to have the financial backing to really acquire him. But WWE would be, it's pretty much his only option. To me, in my eyes, WWE is the option for him to just close it out, really, because you don't want to leave on a sour note like he did, even though Samoa Joe was his last opponent. But you don't want to leave on that note. You was fired from AEW after they build this whole Collision show around you.
Yeah.
That was his show. I mean, he was blocking people left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was you can't come in the building, you can't come in the building. I mean, he had his own show. I mean, so he blocked the talent relations guy from coming to the show. I mean, Punk really had it going on, but all down the toilet.
Yeah.
So I believe WWE is the platform for him to go. I just don't think WWE is going to do it.
It's going to be very interesting, and like I find myself wondering, the news came out, he got fired, and then all of a sudden, well, he's going back to WWE, or he should go back to WWE, and all of these prominent figureheads in the wrestling business were starting to chime in. Guys like Jim Ross, Eric Bischoff, they had their own takes on it. Should he go back? Would he go back? Now, we say this because, as we talked about at the top of the segment here, we're going to be covering all things the Survivor Series on our next month's episode on November the 17th at 6 p.m. live exclusively on ONTV.
Yep.
Where's that show being held, Q?
Chicago,
Illinois.
Oh, man.
That is CM Punk's hometown. And that is where he made his return to the global landscape of professional wrestling when he made his first appearance in AEW. It is not the same building, but it is in the suburb of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that being used to fuel the speculation, to get people talking, to get the clickbait, as it were, because it's all about the clickbait?
That's what it is.
Or is that too obvious? Is that too obvious to bring Punk back if he was to come back in Chicago? Like, that's been the backdrop for his biggest recent moments and achievements, has been in the city of Chicago. So there's a preconceived notion of, even though this event was booked last year, when he was still working for the competition, the stars are in alignment, and the smart marks that hang on every word of every dirt sheet that's out there. He's coming to Survivor Series because it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's too obvious. What if he shows up and wins the Royal Rumble? What if they do sign him, it's at a random Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown, much like The Rock did here a number of weeks ago.
Right.
And of all places, Denver, Colorado. Nobody expected The Rock to show up.
No way.
But damn, bro, when he did, that was one of the loudest pops that I've heard in the last 5 years.
Yep.
And it was real because nobody saw it coming. That's what they need to do with CM Punk. Don't go the obvious route.
Right.
But
yeah.
man, if we did our own DraftKings or something like that, we would have to take an over/under as to how many times that show is going to be infiltrated by CM Punk chants.
Oh
right?
man, we're talking about a hijacking.
Yeah, sure.
I believe that's happening. CM Punk, to me, if he goes back to WWE, he could be the modern day Bret Hart. I don't know if you remember when Bret Hart turned heel. He was the best thing going in Canada.
Yeah.
But to the U.S. fans, he was a heel.
Enemy
he was
number
hated.
one.
That was my favorite incarnation of Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Right there. CM Punk could be that because he's getting cheered in Chicago. But if you notice in his last few appearances in AEW, there was a lot of boos, that's really coming out because everybody knows what's going on backstage. You can't even hide it.
Right.
Can't even hide it. It's on all the dirt sheets. It's everywhere. It's all on the podcast. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about Brawl Out. Everyone's talking about the issues with Jungle Boy. I mean, Jungle Boy of all people.
Right.
That's how you get nixed out of the company. Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy, yeah. Hung the rope, as it were.
If I was Jungle Boy, he better run with that. He could be the number one heel in the company now.
Yep.
But all seriousness, as we wrap up, I guess, CM Punk, if this were to happen, because I would like it to happen. I'm not saying I don't want to see it. I just don't see it happening.
Right.
But if this were to happen, CM Punk has to go that Bret Hart route. Just go ahead and heel it up. He's one of the best talkers in wrestling.
That he certainly is.
Use it.
Yeah.
You got to use it.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this episode. We certainly appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. And once this gets uploaded to the YouTube channel for Orion ONTV, do us a solid and hit the share button. Send us out if you have friends, family who are wrestling fans, or somebody that needs to be inspired. Like, that's what we're here for. So if you could take the 2 seconds and hit the share button, we would certainly appreciate that, as We appreciate each and every one of you. If you have questions, comments, feedback, show topic ideas, anything of the sort, hit us up over on Facebook. Look for the Clouse Q Show, the PFC Entertainment Network, or clousetotheheart@gmail.com. With that, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other. We'll see you right back here November the 17th with a very special Survivor Series preview edition of the Clouse Q Show live on ONTV.
CM Punk. CM Punk.